Welcome to episode 3 of Inside the Nothing Box with my good friend Panners and myself, Turps. Thanks for coming back, much appreciated. So look, going to be snappy. Episode 3 is the main topic is about the good old conferences that we used to go to, the good old corporate conferences. So why did we love them so much? How the bloody hell did we get through them? But also, as ever, a serious sort of underlying reasons about why sometimes they do feel quite unpleasant and why people maybe get a bit anxious about turning up during the event, and we've got a few little coping tools, which I nearly said strategies, but Steve the Cheese will tell me off. But a few ways of getting through them, coping, and hopefully you enjoy it. So strap in, listen up, and here we go.
It's fun when we're together. It's fun just hanging out. It's fun when you're around. There's nothing better.
This episode of Inside the Nothing Box is sponsored by Lazy Days Retirement Homes, providing care and peaceful endings to retired bankers for over 2 years. Accommodation is currently available at all of our sites, and one-bedroom apartments start at £3.5 million, or the equivalent of a senior bank executive's pension pot. Each apartment comes with all utilities, a personal alarm for emergencies, and free membership to the Scrabble and Bingo clubs. And if you complete on a property within the next month, you'll benefit from the Lazy Days No Quibble Guarantee, which is that you can talk endlessly to your new friends about how great it was on the standing orders desk back in 1978, and no one will give a toss, we promise. Lazy Days Retirement Homes, built to last, even if you aren't. Terms and conditions apply.
Well, thanks to our sponsor for that message. Unfortunately, we did have to part with Morrison's Mobility, our previous sponsor, because as you said, they've gone out of business and they weren't willing to send us the 20 quid that they promised. But it's okay. I've got 15 packets of suction bath grips, which always had, and 300 packs of their wipes. So you can take those down the golf club when you next go. Anyway, you all right?
Yeah, I'm all good, mate.
Yeah, good.
Now listen, today we've got quite a bit to get through, so I don't think we should be messing about. Well, we will be messing about, but what I mean is we've got to be on point today. All right.
Okay.
So
bullshit. Corporate bullshit.
Corporate bullshit. There might be a bit. Steve will.
No, that was
moan.
it. On point.
Oh shit! I've done it already. So right. Talking of Steve the Cheese, has he been in touch again?
Yeah, I've had a couple of emails actually, which is nice.
Crack on.
So thank you to, I think, Chris, Jack, I think Matthew you've spoken to. So we've had a few guys that have kindly sent in some suggestions, some of them not obscene. And we'll come to some of your questions, maybe not in this episode, but certainly in future episodes. So thank you for that. And please, anyone else, keep those coming. But yes, our regular correspondent, Steve the Cheese, has been in touch. He said it's another 35 minutes, I think he said, of his 36 minutes of my life I'll never get back again.
Okay.
So we look like two people auditioning for the next episode of Last of the Summer Wine, which I think is a bit harsh.
Really?
Yeah, although, yeah, it's kind of quite sexy that. It's like nice to be back in the 80s. And he's also, he asked me a question actually, which was kind of going back to the last episode. He said, if you're so bloody good, how come you got the sack?
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't really talk about this. I know we said we're going to not talk about each other too much, so I'm going to be quick and finish it. We won't talk about it again. But to Steve, so you know, and I think you know, I was made redundant 3 times in my career actually, and on 2 of those occasions, I felt that it was because of a restructure, and it was fine, and I was lucky to get another job. The point I was trying to make last time was. I didn't feel that I was the worst person in the team, and I got sacked. So I never said I was great or brilliant, but I didn't think I was the worst. Unlike you, who said you were the best. So I think from that, the point was I took it personally, and because I couldn't work out why I would get the sack if I wasn't the worst. So that was the point I was trying to make. And I think I didn't bother, as I said last time, kind of appealing that, because I decided if they didn't want me, I didn't want them. And the important thing, I think, that I wanted people to take away from last weekend and what I've just said is sometimes you just got to move on, right? And just accept that things are no longer right, and just move on and find something fresh. Mm-hmm. Talking of moving on, I probably should move this on.
We can move it on, but I think, well, look, we've discussed that the end of your career was then into retirement, as we talked about, as was mine. When we won't give it away just yet, but at the end of this episode, we're going to tell you about episode 4, where we're going to have a guest, and I think it's worthwhile with our guest talking about the relevance of remaining relevant, as it were, purely because we left and we didn't have to go back into work. There is so many people who watch these who are in roles.
Well, not that many.
Well, there was 3 at least. There's 3.
Yeah, let's not get carried away.
And it's just about maybe some stuff that we can help out, which can keep people kind of future-proofed. Sorry, Steve, that is corporate jargon, but I don't care.
There was that one other thing that I got reminded about from my story last week, was I said I took it badly.
Yes.
And I was reminded of the story of someone who, when I was in HR,
this is brilliant.
Who probably took getting made redundant slightly more badly, is that English? More badly than me, which is he was a salesman for, it was in Lloyd's actually. And as was the case, if when you got made redundant, you were told you had to leave your car somewhere, and there was kind of normally some kind of named places you could leave it, but if you couldn't reach one of those, you're allowed to leave it somewhere, let the people know where it was, and kind of leave the keys under the mat kind of thing. So I remember this guy, I forget his name, but he did that. He took his car to somewhere and left it and phoned and said, "I've done what you've asked me to." And he'd actually driven his car to Moscow and left his car as close as he could get to Red Square, and just phoned him and said, "Yeah, you can pick it up now." It was a Rover 200. I don't think they bothered. Yeah, it's probably got blown up fairly soon after that. Anyway.
So he did have the ump when he left.
Just a bit. Yeah, I thought I was cross. That's going somewhere.
Right, we have got to get the.
Well, I got a present for you before you go on. I've got a present for you.
Button in already.
Yeah.
Present though, I'll take
present,
that.
Yeah.
Is it expensive?
No, it's not. It was $2.99, and I was supposed to give it to you the other week, but it didn't turn up on Amazon. So, knowing your love for Bazza and his upcoming concert, I bought you a nice notebook so that you can take some notes in future, with his lovely picture on there. So, I hope you enjoy that. That's
Barry Manilow. A throwaway comment has dug all this up. Well, I've got a present for you.
Good.
And it's, sorry again, bag, noisy,
bag,
sorry listeners or watchers or...
Oh, lovely. I know what these are.
Well, be careful.
These are duck eggs, and that's beautiful. Are they real? Are they real eggs?
Of course they're bloody real.
Are they?
Watch it.
Are they Braddock Whites? That's my favourite.
They're duck eggs, all right?
Yeah, lovely.
And
Thank you very much.
Believe you me,
that's
they're not easy to flip
very
well
nice.
by.
I shall scramble those later.
Well, there we go. So, what are we going to talk about today?
I think you wanted to talk about conferences.
Oh, God. So, we're going to talk about the wonderful joys of going to a bloody conference in whatever sort of way or mean of work that you happen to be in. Obviously, we did many a banking conference, and I nearly slipped up when I called them a banking conference. And the reason why we're going to talk about them is because I fucking hated them. Excuse the language, but we're going to go through our top 10 of conference hates. But as ever, we are going to pull it into a more serious kind of undertone as well, right?
That's the plan, yeah.
That's the plan.
Well, I think before we go into the top 10, I think you had some kind of views about even the problems occurred before the conferences even started.
So I just remember, and it used to come out the blue from the events team, hold the date email, and you just think, oh shit. And immediately I'd go, how long was it for? Is it just a day?
By the way, apologies to anyone in the events team.
Oh, sorry. It probably all made redundant anyway. But anyway, not that I should make light of that either. So it would be hold the date email. I'd have a look at it. Oh my God, it's an overnight stay. Christ. and all of a sudden I've now lost my appetite, right? Even if it was a month in advance. Then you'd look at where the location was, and it would be anywhere from flipping hell. I remember going to Edinburgh for one, or wherever it is up the country. It was never local, was it, to us in London? And then, you know, first thing I would do is I would phone up my boss's PA and go, right, is there any holiday going? Sort of like, and she would already be briefed to say, no, all holidays been booked out. And you're like, oh Jesus, I can't get away with it that way. And then about 2 weeks after this save the date would come in, and we'd all figured out, yeah, it's the bloody normal conference. You'd then take the call from the wonderful events team, asking you to go, do you mind doing a presentation? And you'd be like, oh my God, this is good for my profile. Oh, I better do it. Oh my good God. So I actually hated the whole build up, everything about it. And actually the more people I used to speak to, I think most people feel the same way. Absolutely dreaded it. Beyond dreaded it. But we got a few stories to tell about how we kind of got through them, didn't we?
Yeah, we'll come to those. So should we start with the top 10 then?
Top 10. So who's going to do...
I'll start with the first one. So my in at number 10, if you like, I think is the kind of whole corporate kind of wrapper that was put around conferences. And it would always start when you got there. And I remember a few occasions, there'd always be like these senior execs wearing bloody T-shirts with
their name across the face.
Yes, I know who you are. I don't, but apparently that was important. And then you get, like, when it started, the thing that used to wind me up the most was bloody music, this motivational music. I mean, I reckon I've been to over 20 events where they come out to fucking M people. You know what I mean?
What have you done to make yourself feel proud?
Yeah, well, nothing really, but I'm here now. But anyway, so that's number 10. What we got at number... I'll tell you one thing, to be fair, on the music. I did go, when I was at Lloyd's, when we merged with TSB, which is a whole different story, which we'll come to in a future episode. We had the Cause on stage.
Did you?
Which, to be fair, that's pretty cool, actually. I mean, yeah, no, that is cool. You can take the piss.
And they've aged well as well.
I think they have, actually.
Yeah.
Except the bloke.
I don't care about it. Yeah. Anyway, I'll put in at number 9. So we've got here networking over coffee or shite lunches. And I'd include shite dinners as well. So that whole thing about everybody gets there right in the morning and you've travelled from here, there and everywhere. And you're all having a crappy coffee in the morning and a croissant. Everyone's nervous as hell, worried, having bullshit conversations. Lunches, I used to skip them if I'm honest. I used to go and sit outside. But the last conference I went on, I think it was in Bristol, and we were all being celebrated how wonderful we'd done on whatever we'd done. I can't remember whatever it was. Anyway, we go for the dinner, and honestly, it was so crap. I give me the ump. Right, so they're coming out with these trays of, I don't know, vegetarian foul.
Like a bad, cheap wedding.
Yeah, and like, you can have 3 chips. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, hold on a minute. I'm pretty sure this afternoon we were all being lauded at how wonderful we are at this and we've done this and that and the other. And all you can give me is a soggy fucking chip. So I thought, right, sod it. I'm going to vote on my feet, do one. I'm starving. So I went, right, I'm off. I ain't having none of this anymore. So I've walked back to the hotel. Everyone's going, where you going? I went...
Were they really?
Straight up.
Yeah, you sure?
Well, 3 of them did. Same 3 listened to this. Anyway, I get back to the hotel and I thought, sod you lot, right, I'll order a nice bit of steak and I'll have a glass of red wine. So I'm sitting there. I actually had a bottle of red wine. Bloke come over, he said, it's cheaper just to get a bottle. I said, lovely. So I'm having my steak. In walked our entire team. They went, Turps, we're going to stick up for you. We're not standing there with all that crap. We've come with you. Out come the glasses. There goes me wine. Oh, you got a bit of steak there. Oh, yeah. Well, do you know? And I just thought, hold on a minute. As much as that was lovely that everyone came, and that was proper teamwork, just takes one person to vote on their feet. You know, but all the other sycophants may just sit there and say, anyway.
The lone nut, I believe.
The lone nut, the lone nut. Anyway, enough of that. Number 8.
So I think I used to try and be positive about conferences, And our producer, of course, Bipan, was often a star on some of these. He used to have a stand about what he was doing, and so they were sometimes quite good. Let's be honest. Occasionally, they were quite good. So I always used to try and be positive, and to look forward to conferences. And then they used to always seem in the first morning disappoint, because you'd realise that despite it have been described as something kind of new and we're going to see the new strategy, in reality, it wasn't a new strategy, was it? It was the same shit, just presented by a different bloke with a different T-shirt on, right? But it was always the same. And you just think, oh my God, is this it? I thought I was coming to hear something like... But it's just a fact that merry-go-round of senior execs meant it was someone different, just regurgitating the same... regurgitating the same nonsense. So I think I think in number 8 for me is just that kind of optimism, and then that immediate disappointment that it's just nonsense.
Well, that almost leads in for me number 7, which would be the panel discussion. So, out would come the 3 or 4 bar stools up on the stage with their T-shirts with my name and look how important I am. And then, it would be out to they'd give their, this is the way the world is and the strategy and all this. And then it would be any questions. So then that roving microphone would go round, and then you'd always
everyone sits on their hands then.
Oh, too right, and looks away. Oh look, there's a seat at the front. Sod that, I'm right at the back. Thank you very much. But then you'd always get the clever ones who'd ask the question, wouldn't you? And I hated it. It was for me. It was here's the senior exec. Look how bloody wonderful I am, and just listen to me babble on about God knows what else. We shouldn't really be slating senior execs here, should we?
Yeah,
There's a fly in here as well.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Okay.
But do you remember? I remember the worst time was when they had those microphones that were on dice.
Oh, don't even go there.
And some muppet would go around throwing this dice, and then some other muppet who has to ask a question would then throw the dice to somebody else, and it'd be like, as much as you turned your back on the person, dice itch on the back of the head, you scared to pick it.
I swear to God, I was at one of them, and this dice is getting dangerously close, and I let it bounce off of my shoulder. I thought, no chance, I'm asking a question.
It's pathetic, really, isn't it, that grown men can't ask a simple question via a microphone, but maybe we'll come on to that.
Maybe.
So number 6, I think it's yours again, I think you mentioned it, it's this thing of getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, either getting up at 4 in the morning to travel somewhere. Like I said, I remember going to one in Edinburgh, and I had to fly up there on a Sunday, and I just hated that personal time being...
talking of flying up.
Being I know. I hated that anything encroaches on my family time used to really bug, and I know a lot of it comes with the territory, but that used to really bug me. And then the drive as well. I remember going up to Leeds once with a good friend, Abdul, did our job. Most people remember Abdul. And we got stuck behind an accident on the M1, and we couldn't get off the junctions. So it happened, and we were stuck for at least 6 hours. And I'm going to be serious here, because 2 people didn't go home that night. Right, it was Christmas as well. So 2 people didn't go home because of the accident. Once it all cleared, we get to the event, and we on no word of a lie, I did pick Abdul up about 4:30 in the morning, and then we drove up. We got to the event at about 3:30, 4 o'clock, whatever the time was. And I went into the boss at the time and said, look, we're really, really sorry. He knew what had happened. And he just looked up and went, ugh. And I thought, do you know what? Do one. I fancied getting in that car and going straight back again. But anyway,
you wouldn't have been able to, because there's a motorway.
Well, it was going back the other way, mate. But I had the soggy sausage roll and then pissed off home anyway.
But that 4 a.m, 4:30 start, which some people might think is a real thing, right? It happened because if you had to get, if you live in London, or even in your case the other side of London, you got to get to Manchester for 8:30, and you don't want to be late. It's true, right? And I remember also a very senior guy. I think I may have moaned that I'd kind of, had to get. He said, "Well, you're paid enough to get up whenever," and it's like, no one in the world is paid enough to die falling asleep in a car because they're still asleep, right? It just seemed to me a ludicrous thing to do, but it happened. But also, and this is what kind of comes in at number 5, was the more famous kind of night before arrival. So if they wanted like a 6 a.m. start, and you had to get there the night before. And I remember, usually on a Sunday, wasn't it? I remember once we had to go, as you alluded to, this castle in Scotland where I think they treated it like a boot camp, where I think they thought we were in the fucking jungle thing, you know, and we had to get there and like stay up till 3 a.m, you know, kind of preparing for a presentation the following morning. And I don't know what the idea behind it was, but I think it was just the kind of the arrangers of it thinking it would be good to make people kind of sweat and get tired. But the problem with the overnights were, it didn't matter what time you had to get up in the morning, it was kind of the law that you had to go out and get absolutely smashed the night before. Wherever you were, that was it, wasn't it? Because you get everyone arriving night before. What is there to do?
Nothing.
Well, we'll go and get pissed. And I've never really forgiven you.
What?
For the one time where we were again in Leeds, and it was a fancy dress, if I remember rightly, evening. It was an 80s fancy dress evening, and I went as George Michael only because my wife said that would be fine, and you've got an old leather jacket, you know, for no other reason than that. And I forgot you went as Don Johnson out of Miami Vice. Wasn't very good. Right? And I think our old friend Steve Day went as a Jewish Boy George. If
Avi George.
Yeah, which was interesting. But the point was, you said we had like the do there, and it was good, and it was fun. Well, it was all right. And you said, well, let's go out.
Yeah.
Miller Leeds, let's go out for a pint, which we did.
Afterwards, obviously.
Yeah, afterwards. Yeah. So it's quite late. Found this kind of late night bar, and there was this guy I remember who had like a bald head, that tattooed head.
Yeah.
And he kept kind of like, in truth, he kept like coming on to me a bit, if I'm honest. It was like a little bit uncomfortable. And then, of course, I suddenly realised that it might not have been a very good looky-likey, but I was dressed as George Michael, and this bloke had taken a bit of a fancy to me. And I remember saying to you, oh, well, I get it now, I've forgotten. We've come out and we've not got changed from the from the fancy dress, and there's me as George Michael and you as Don Johnson. And at that point, I realised that you weren't as Don Johnson. You'd actually nipped back and got changed into your normal clothes. And it was just me on my own, 2 o'clock in the morning in a club in Leeds, dressed as George Michael, which I will never forgive you for. But
I remember meeting you in the foyer, and I thought, why didn't you get changed, Graham?
I thought that was just the way it was.
I'm going out in the middle of Leeds, which ain't the sort of softest part of the world, with a George Michael
it was interesting.
Get on it.
But you mentioned also about kind of the dinners the night before. I remember another one famously in that castle, where you had to do this thing of you had to ask the most senior person at the dinner a question around the table. And I remember we sat in this like a C-shaped table, and Bipan, our production manager's nodding at me. He remembers it well. And it was we won't mention the name. There's no need to mention the name. But he was a lovely guy, American guy. But he was the big boss. So we had to ask him, big boss, BP. So we had to ask him. Everyone had to ask a question, which is fine.
Yeah.
So the first question was, so BB, what's the likelihood of the bank having to reduce the number of branches significantly? Good question, people's minds. Yeah, answered it well. He'd have a swig of his drink. Next question, same one. And he'd go round and round and round. I think I was number 73rd, and by which time the senior guy was pissed off, totally off his head. And I think I asked him what his favourite colour was. Because it was about all that was left, basically, because every other question had been
the colour of his wine, red.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's number 5. I think you've got number 4.
Number 5, that was number... Okay, so for me was the driving home afterwards, more of a sort of a sensible one. It didn't matter where I was in the country. The minute I got in my car, I felt like I was at home. It was like my space. Yeah. And all of a sudden, your appetite comes back. You're out. You've got your appetite back, and you're like, oh, how beautiful that is. And until 20 minutes later, when
the night before.
The night before, and you start going, seeing all the bloody signs, don't, and anyway, but driving home actually is a positive. It was a top 10 for sure, because it was a positive. That was, I'm home. Doesn't matter if I'm 300 miles away. That was my safe space. I'm gonna grab number 3, which was icebreakers. Again,
oh yeah,
they're so goddamn pathetic.
They're fun though.
Oh, no.
Always, they're always
No.
fun.
Yeah, you always know. It's almost like a joke. I've got a really good joke. It's almost like really teeing yourself up. They'd come on with the microphone. They go, "Oh, I've got a really fun icebreaker," and you just think, "Oh, Jesus fucking Christ!"
I think I was once made to play tennis
Really?
on a stage with, and you had to like do a dance if you didn't.
don't.
And it's like your worst nightmare, right? And
Everyone stand up.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck off. I've just driven fucking 4 hours and now
Okay.
you're telling me to stand up. But, Graham, we met over an icebreaker. Do you
we did
remember?
actually. Yes, we did.
We met at the Celtic Manor
Yeah.
in Wales at a good to great event.
Is there more than one then?
Eh?
Is there more than one Celtic Manor? The one in Wales, anyway. Yeah.
So pedantic, you wind me up at times. But anyway, in fact, Sodger, I'm not even going to go on. You can do number 2.
So number 2, which I think is probably my biggest thing, is motivational speakers. Now, don't get me wrong, there are people who are wonderfully motivational, and we've seen many of them. But the ones that I think used to get me were, and it was they're either ex-military.
Oh, yeah.
Or ex-sports people.
Yeah.
Or worse, both. And I've got nothing to get, thank you to everything the guys in the military do. I love sport. Yeah. But there's nothing, I just, you get this guy who'd come in and say how he's, he'd kind of run around the world on one leg and at the same time kind of, and you're sitting there thinking, well, I work in the bloody compliance department in a bank, and it was just the fact that you were made to feel so completely inadequate and useless compared to these people. And I used to think, well, it's really good knowing about the fact that you've kind of done what you've done and you've set up this business and you save all these people. I'm not sure the relevance of that. So when I go to Staines branch tomorrow morning, it's like...
I always found them to make you feel so shit.
Yeah.
That then all the senior execs would walk on and go, thank you very much to whoever that was, big round of applause. Right, now you minions, who I'm now going to preach to. That's how it felt.
Have a try and think how any of that might relate to you, which we never did.
Yeah, getting a helicopter out of flipping Baghdad with one arm. No. Anyway, there we go.
Having said that, if you've ever had to write a compliance report and give it to your senior boss, it's kind of quite challenging at times.
Is it?
Yeah, so you never know. Anyway, number 1.
That was really boring, by the way, Graham. Number 1 for me was the good old table discussions.
Yeah, they were fun.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a topic, we're going to break you out, right? So I think there's a little bit more which goes on with table discussions. So we've been broken out. So I'm on a table with a bunch of people I don't freaking know. So that was the other bit. When you go into the conference room, you've got to pick your name badge up.
Yeah, a little scan around, don't you?
It's got a soppy colour on it and a table, and you go to all your mates. Yeah. Oh, what colour are you? Oh.
Not the same as you.
What table are you on? Oh, okay. Who's the senior exec hosting my... It's like fucking couldn't get any better, could it? So I'm now sitting with a bunch of people I don't know. Anyway, this table discussion, you'd have the topic and you'd all sit there. There'd always be someone on your table. Me. Let me do it. I'm like, yeah, you crack on, mate. And then at the end, they'd come out on stage and they'd go, so you've got 5 minutes. Could you just pick someone who's going to play it back and we'll go through a couple of tables? This is what everyone on that table would do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could tell you the carpets of many conference rooms, right? Everyone's looking at the floor. And then you'd get somebody go, Graham, do you want to play this back?
Yeah. No.
It'll be good for your profile.
No. Still no.
No, thank you. Big Pan's the other side of this, by the way, pissing himself laughing. Because he's, look at him, he's done, he's gone, and he. So I tell you, I used to hate it. And there were anyway, I'm not going to go down certain people, but listen, the reason why we've done and we've played around a little bit, obviously, around some of our experiences with conferences. Oh, by the way, before I go on, there was another bit we forgot. In that email which said hold the date, there'd also be the dreaded...
Oh, the pre-course work.
Pre-course work, yeah? I'm not advocating that you should never do pre-course work, but I've never been to a conference in my life where it's ever come up. And so anyway, we do know one person who had a knacky little trick.
Well, he used to get his PA, still may do for all I know, to print all the pre-course work off.
Yes.
And then because we'd always give him a lift up there, or usually, he'd sit in the back of the car and ask us what the answers were to all the things, which meant that he never really did any of it. But as you say, it hardly ever would come up anyway. But there are some underlying points here, aren't there?
So we might have taken the piss, and it is all true, everything we've just said. And I know that people will be watching, listening, and they will be nodding, going, Christ, I've been through those experiences. We wanted to draw it out, one, to have a bit of a laugh around it, but two, there is genuine anxiety.
Yeah.
There is genuine nervousness of that email that drops in, the travel up there, how people are going to interact with others. And I just think, I just think it's worth kind of just looking at a few of the things that people
I think it is,
would feel.
I think genuinely people can often just feel, as you say, anxious in big groups, especially if they're work big groups, because there is that kind of added, I think, kind of belief, whether it's right or wrong, that you need to kind of perform in some way or do well or be seen to be getting engaged, and it's pressure, isn't it? So there is, there's a genuine thing called, kind of anxiety disorder, which makes people really self-conscious, and sometimes that can stem from an embarrassment in a public kind of environment way back when. And this will sound ridiculous, but I remember as a kid of 5, and kids are supposed to be like notoriously.
You can remember back to you were 5?
I can. Or I may have been 7 or 4.
That's an incredible memory.
Kids are supposed to have no like self-consciousness, are they? They're supposed to like. But I remember being made to like kind of. This magician at his party made me stand in front and turn me into a teapot or something, and made milk come out of my armpit, which I still don't know how he did it. Incredible. Well, you see, you're laughing. Can you imagine how funny it was for a load of fucking 5-year-olds?
It's hilarious.
But I generally thought they were laughing at me, not with me, which is probably the case. And I still remembered that. Not every time I went to a conference, but there must be something in that where if you've been embarrassed in a public situation, it kind of stays with you a bit. And so I think there's a genuine thing that people can just feel self-conscious and that pressure. And I think also something which you talked about a couple of episodes ago about that whole kind of imposter syndrome. That kind of adds to it as well, right? If people don't think they're worthy of being there, then that kind of that makes it even worse, right?
Yeah, my sort of, I don't know, the history of going to these conferences. I remember when I very first started to go, and when I talked about it in episode 1, that imposter syndrome bit. I'm in a job where I don't feel that I'm worthy, and all these people are so much better than me. That
By the way, I forgot to mention when you said that I suffered from it as well.
Did you?
I did. Although having said that, when I started working with you, it did ease off a little bit.
Right. Is that because I was so welcoming towards you? Or you just thought the benchmark is really low? Don't answer it, because I know you're going to be rude. Although I do remember actually being at the Cotswolds when you said, my job has been made so much easier because of this man, and you pointed at me. I think that was a mistake, but anyway, going back to the serious point I was making before you rudely interrupted. When I first used to go to conferences, I felt that anxiety. It was horrendous. I lost my appetite. I wouldn't say anything. If that dice or anything used to come near me, Christ above, it would frighten the freaking life out of me. Yeah. A lot of it was around performance. And that was a metric, and everybody's got performance, right? And if you're not performing that well, again, that just heaps onto you as well. Interestingly, a few years down the line, and I was comfortable in my own shoes, I was kind of doing okay, and I knew that I was holding my own of what I used to do. I used to go, because I was more confident in myself, I actually started taking a little bit of a different viewpoint on conferences. I'd cut the bullshit out, and all the stuff, the top 10 still happens, but I went with let's try and get something out of this conference. As opposed to being negative, I actually used to go with, do you know what? Even if I come away with half an hour of really good content and I can lift and drop that back to my people. So this isn't designed to take the piss out of conferences, and they ain't worthwhile. Maybe. But
I know what you mean.
We're just trying to help people, because I'm sure a lot of people will go through these same emotions, but how you come out, yeah, and a lot of this is actually you're just being bloody normal. Yeah. People are just normal feeling this way.
And I think that's an important point, in so much as I think we probably worry more than we should about what people think of us. Why would they really care what we say or do? Yeah. Frankly, whatever we may think. And I think that's a really important point, is that there'll be so many other people in the room feeling exactly the same as you are about being in this environment doesn't feel maybe quite natural, if you like. So I think I was going to ask you what you think are the ways we should, you can kind of deal with feeling that anxiety or self-consciousness. But one of them, I think, is to just realise that it's quite normal to feel like that, and that actually so many people that you're sitting with and around you are feeling exactly the same. So you're not the only one there.
Yeah, so there's a couple of bits what were around in answer to that bit, Panners. Yes, it's normal. The other one is the people presenting 9 times out of 10 are more nervous than you are. Yeah. Right? Because we've been on the other side of it.
No, you're right.
And the other bit is you're in that room for a reason. Yeah, whatever job role you do, it doesn't matter the seniority of what you do or who you are, you've been invited to a conference for a reason, right? Because you're probably pretty good at what you do, or you're integral to what you're about to hear. So don't worry about what anyone else thinks about you. The only person who's thinking about you is you. And you're not being judged.
Yeah.
It felt like
what
that.
You're kind of saying is, if you're in the room, you're there because you deserve to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. You deserve to be in that room. You wouldn't have got a bloody invite, right? Yeah. You just wouldn't. And there is no, there's this thing that you would think, once everybody's gone home, all the organisers would sit there and they'd go through all the names, and it don't exist. No. It exists here. It's not real, right? So.
No, that's good. I think that's good. I mean, there are some other ways you can get through them. You can just get onto WhatsApp and slag everyone off like you used to do to me, sending me messages, saying, look at the state of that and listen to that idiot going on. But you could do that, but that's kind of unprofessional, so I'm not sure we would recommend doing that.
And, such an idiot at times.
Or just mucking around like children at a conference, which I do remember getting told off and told to grow up. And then the other thing, you and I used to have a kind of method, didn't we, whereby to break the day into chunks.
So what we used to do, and I don't mind sharing, it's a best practice, I would call it.
It is best practice.
I'd use, with 9 o'clock, we'd sit down, you'd have that lingering coffee taste in the back of your mouth, and then the conference starts at 9:30. So I would text Graham, here mate, chill out, 7-hour countdown. And then every hour I would text you, wouldn't I? Mate, we're down 6 hours to go. We'd have lunch. Mate, 3 hours to go. Yeah. The highlight is when the hours turn to minutes. Yeah. Mate, 45 minutes. Now, I remember you weren't there. You'd already left by this point. There was a lady, I'm not going to name her, but she came up. She was so nervous about being at the conference. So nervous. No reason to be. And I said to her, look, give me your personal number. I'm going to WhatsApp you throughout the day. No word of a lie. She came up to me after and she went, oh my God, it made it go so much quicker. It's a mess about. But
if only she turned the volume off on her notifications.
It went so much quicker. She got thrown out after 3 hours because her phone kept going off.
But I think one other thing, if someone is like you've described there, really lacking in confidence or really nervous about it, one thing I would genuinely recommend is speak to somebody beforehand who either knows what's going to happen or perhaps more importantly knows about the content of what's going to be discussed. I know you're not going to know everything, but just somebody who can give you a bit more information about it, so that that classic thing of the more confident you are about something, the less daunting it is. So if you can get a bit of an inside track on what's going to be talked about or the subject matter and learn a bit about it, you can go in there with a bit more confidence. So that's a genuine kind of thing I would recommend. So thanks again for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed it. We talked a lot about conferences, probably went on a bit more than we were anticipating, but hopefully you've taken away some of the kind of strategies you might be able to deploy, but also some of the underlying points about if you are feeling anxious or nervous about going, just remember you're not the only people that are feeling that way, and just don't worry about it. Don't compare yourself to others, and just be yourself. It's fine, honestly. So thank you. Next episode, a little bit different for us, a little bit exciting. We've got our first guest, which for those of you who have worked at Barclays will know the wonderful Richard Smalley. I won't say any more about him now, but those, we're really looking forward to having him on the show and hearing some of his wisdom and thoughts on what he's been up to since he left the bank, and some of his thoughts on some of the topics that we've already covered or might cover in the future. So tune into that. And if you are interested in asking him anything specific, or indeed asking us any more questions or raising or mentioning any topics you want us to talk about, and don't forget you can get us at Panners and Turps at insidethenothingbox.com. Thanks to Jack, by the way, for reminding us that that's the longest email address he's ever had, but sorry about that. And as ever, thanks again to Bipan for his wonderful production that he's done for us. He puts a lot of effort into helping us do this, so without him we'd be really shit. So thanks again, and we'll see you all in a few weeks.
Stay safe, everyone.